Look at a city street from the 1890s, and it becomes clear that urban infrastructure was built entirely around muscle power. For thousands of years, if you needed to move people or freight, you relied on the biological capacity of a horse. But biological transport has a hard limit. Horses require constant food, water, and rest. They get sick, they get exhausted, and on any trip beyond city limits, they keep travel at a slow, agonizing crawl. Early inventors tried to break this bottleneck with steam-powered machines, but these engines were massive and heavy, making them more like road-bound locomotives than practical tools for daily life. By the late 19th century, transportation was stuck. Without a power source that was both lightweight and highly efficient, mobility remained tethered to the limits of animal endurance. In the mid-1880s, a German engineer named Karl Benz began working on a solution to that weight-to-power problem. His breakthrough was the gasoline-powered internal combustion engine. This diagram shows how it works. Fuel enters a chamber, a spark ignites it, and the resulting explosion creates the physical force needed to turn a driveshaft. Benz mounted this engine onto a custom three-wheeled frame. Since he was building something with no precedent, he had to design his own steering and braking systems from scratch to keep the new power source under control. In 1886, Benz received a patent for the Motorwagen, proving that a self-propelled mechanical vehicle wasn't just a theory, it was a reality. On paper, Benz had solved the transportation bottleneck. He had built a machine that could move without a single horse in sight. But having a patent and having a customer are two very different things. When Benz revealed the Motorwagen, the public response was almost entirely negative. Most people saw the machine as a loud, dangerous curiosity. They were used to horses. They understood horses. The shaking, clanking metal carriage seemed like a step backward, not a leap forward. Karl's wife, Bertha Benz, realized that they weren't facing an engineering failure, but a psychological one. Karl had built the machine, but he hadn't convinced anyone it was actually useful. It is a common hurdle for inventors. Even the most brilliant tool is useless if the public is too afraid or too skeptical to try it. In August 1888, Bertha decided to provide the proof. Without her husband's knowledge, she took the Motorwagen out at dawn and set off with her two sons on a 100-kilometer journey. This was the ultimate stress test. There were no paved highways, no gas stations, and no one to call if the engine failed. If the machine broke down in the middle of nowhere, the skeptics would be proven right. Bertha had to troubleshoot on the fly. When a clogged fuel line stalled the engine, she used a hat pin to clear the debris. When an ignition wire began to short circuit, she used a garter to insulate the exposed wire. She even stopped at a shoemaker to have leather nailed to the wooden brake blocks, creating a durable surface to handle steep hills, essentially creating the first set of brake linings. By the time she reached her destination, Bertha hadn't just completed a road trip. She had proven that the automobile was robust, maintainable, and ready for the real world. News of Bertha's journey spread through the newspapers, and the narrative around the Motorwagen shifted. People stopped seeing a dangerous experiment and started seeing a viable way to travel. The skepticism that had stalled the business for years began to evaporate. This shift in perception led to the first real wave of orders. As you can see in this early factory photo, the transition began from hand-built prototypes to the world's first automotive assembly lines. It was a unique partnership. Karl Benz provided the engineering, but Bertha Benz provided the proof of concept that built the industry. This success sparked a transition that would reshape the world. Over the following decades, the horse was gradually moved off the main roads as cities were redesigned for the speed and scale of the automobile. Today, there are over 1 billion cars on the road, all using the same basic principles of the engine Karl and Bertha first took onto the dirt roads of Germany. The story of the first car shows that an invention needs more than just a working engine. It needs someone with the confidence to drive it until the rest of the world finally catches up.